What is up, guys? My name is Nicholas Carcel and welcome back to another video. Today, as you can see on the screen, we have the Stanley Cup 2020 playoffs to predict. Well, I've already predicted it, but we got ourselves here a little bracket to show you guys what my picks are for the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to break it down the way I did this. So first, you have the round robins, right? I'm going to break down the round robins first, then I'll get into the qualifiers, and then I'll mix and match and show you my predictions of kind of where every team plays out. All right, so for the bye teams, I have the Eastern Conference first. So let's head there now. So we got Boston, Tampa, Washington, Philadelphia. I have Tampa Bay finishing the round robin 2-1. Philadelphia finishing the round robin 2-1 as well. Washington finishing 1-2, and Boston finishing 1-2. I just don't see Tampa and Philadelphia losing that much. They got that young core, and Carter Hart, especially on Philadelphia, they're a good mix there in Philadelphia. Tampa's Tampa. Boston and Washington, they're going to have a slow start, but I think they're going to pick it up. And then on the Western Conference side, I have the St. Louis Blues finishing 3-0. Yep, I'm making them sweep the round robin. I just think they're too strong. They may have older players, as I said earlier, but they got a good enough mix going on in St. Louis where they can handle the younger cores of the other teams. Then I got Dallas going 2-1, Colorado going 1-2, and Vegas, yikes, going 0-3. It's tough for Vegas out there. They're an older group, and Marc-Andre Fleury not going to be even playing for Vegas. He's going to be the backup behind Robin Leonard. And Robin Leonard's a good goalie, and he played well with the Islanders. I just don't see Vegas being very scary in the round robin, but we'll see what they do in the next rounds. So for the Stanley Cup qualifier, we got our first match set to go. Pittsburgh versus Montreal. I got Pittsburgh in 4 games. I mean, it's self-explanatory. It's Pittsburgh. Max Domi is coming back as he is a type 1 diabetic and was we didn't know if he was going to come back, but thankfully he is, and that's a big boost for Montreal's core that they're trying to work on. But I think Pittsburgh's got the edge here, especially with Matt Murray in net. Even though Carey Price is in net for the Habs, I just don't see Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin falling in the qualifiers to the Montreal Canadiens. New York Islanders versus the Florida Panthers. I got Florida in 4 games. I know everyone wants to say the Islanders are going to win the series, but I like Jonathan Huberdeau. And Aaron Ekblad, and I especially love Alexander Barkov. So they got a really good top 3 there in Florida. And the Islanders, Matt Barzal, I don't know if he can do it again. I don't know if he can do the upset again. I just don't see it this year. Carolina versus the New York Rangers. I got Carolina in 5. I made this a really tight series. And it's strangely the fact that the Rangers are a sleeper team. Let me just get this straight. The New York Rangers, Artemi Panarin, is having an unbelievable year, and he's got a nomination for the Hart Trophy. So good on Artemi Panarin. Then you got Shesterkin and Georgiev in net, and their defense has been lights out this season. So, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the New York Rangers, but then again, you got Carolina's core D. You got their offense that has been putting in many goals into the back of the net, and then James Reimer and Peter Mrazek. I mean, they've had a good year. And I think Carolina will just sneak away with this one against the New York Rangers. Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. I got my boys in 4. I don't see Columbus being as much of a threat as people are saying they will be. And especially if the Maple Leafs are going to run Matthews, Marner, and Tavares on the same line. I know that'll leave a little bit of a second line oopsies for the rest of the team. But if they can get that Tavares, Marner, and Matthew line going, there's going to be no stopping them in Columbus, even though Columbus has an amazing defensive group. Edmonton versus Chicago. I got Edmonton in 5. And, yeah. I don't know. Edmonton, it's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I mean, Chicago is going to be pretty good, and I didn't, fix this when Corey Crawford came down, and now they're putting Malcolm Subban in net. But I'm going to say this is going to be a little strange series. Say Patrick Kane and Taves are going to give them trouble as they always do in the playoffs. And Edmonton's a new playoff team, so they're still figuring it out. But I'm going to say Edmonton in 5. Nashville versus Arizona. Nashville. I don't have anything to say on this. Arizona's a good team. Phil Kessel, Taylor Hall, Clayton Keller. But Nashville's a good team. They're a good defensive group. Pekka Rinne, he's a playoff beast. And Matt Duchene just does it for me, man. He does it for me. Vancouver versus the Minnesota Wild. I got Vancouver. I think Vancouver's just going to slip out of this series. Minnesota, they're, again, like the New York Rangers, they're an underdog team. But I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Vancouver Canucks. I think Vancouver had a really good season. Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser's getting a little bit better every year. And Jacob Markstrom. I mean, props to Jacob Markstrom. What an unbelievable year he's having. And I think he's going to continue to have that in the playoffs. Calgary versus the Winnipeg Jets. My tightest series yet, but I got Calgary slipping out with this one. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets, they're not ready. Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, they're all great forwards. Nikolai Ehlers. But I almost flipped on this one. Winnipeg is a really good team, and I don't want to bash on them too much because the fact that I almost flipped on them means I have a little bit of faith in them. Their defense is a little weak, and that's what scares me for Winnipeg. And to pick Winnipeg going over Calgary, just the fact that they have Connor Hellebuck in net, I mean, yeah, I could say that, but they're still missing pieces. They're still missing pieces to bunch their team together, and I think that's why Calgary will beat them in 5 games. All right, so as we went along, I listed the games, and of course, the first game we got, which on my schedule, is Tampa versus Florida. And of course, I had to pick the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, it just makes sense. It just does. It's Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky, he knows what he's doing. Steven Stamkos, he's coming off an injury. He may not even play. But, Braden Point, Kucherov, they got enough firepower on Tampa Bay to take out the Florida Panthers. Toronto versus the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, I don't think this is actually going to happen anymore. I think if I had to choose a new team, I would swap Washington and Philly. But again, I'm going to go with my gut and say that Philly's going to win 2-1 in the round robin. So Toronto versus Philadelphia. And I got Toronto in 7. I think if Toronto faces Philadelphia, this is the only team they could technically beat. And it's not because Philadelphia is 4th. It's nothing to do with that because right now in the round robin, for me, they're 2nd. Washington has beaten us before, and they're a hard playoff team. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. I don't think we can beat them either. Boston, you lost me there. Philadelphia, I see an underdog story in Toronto against Philadelphia. I see the old story back in 2003 when the Philadelphia Flyers played the Toronto Maple Leafs, the big brawl. And I just see a fast-paced hockey game between 2 great goaltenders, 2 okay defenses, and they're a stacked offense on both sides. It's going to be a high-speed game. But I got Toronto in 7. Washington versus Carolina. It is not the year for the jerks. The big jerks will not be taking out the Washington Capitals. I got Washington in 6 games. This is a good year for Alexander Ovechkin. I think Ovechkin and his group are going to make their way through the Carolina Hurricanes this year. The Boston Bruins versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. I got Pittsburgh in 7. Don't get mad at me, okay? Hear me out. Hear me out. Boston, after losing David Pastrnak, after losing Ondrej Kase, Torrey Krug, Tuukka, I mean, there's no way. There's no way. Unless they get them all back. But, because they're technically not out. They're technically just not fit to play. So once they're fit to play, they could play. But I don't know. It's so far from now. It all depends on what the NHL wants to do with it. But before I even knew about that, I said Pittsburgh over Boston, mainly because Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, they just do it for me. I feel like there's something clicking this year. If Jake Guentzel comes back too for Pittsburgh, it's lights out. I don't think Boston has the potential to beat them. Maybe in 6 games for Boston, but if it goes to 7, if it goes a stretch back in Boston, I think Boston will choke. St. Louis versus the Calgary Flames. St. Louis in 5. I mean, it's St. Louis. Calgary, they're going to put up a good fight, but I feel like they're going to lose just barely every single game, and that's exactly how St. Louis plays. 2-1 hockey games, 3-2 hockey games, 1-0 hockey games. I mean, that's how St. Louis plays. They score a lot sometimes, but they know how to play a defensive hockey game. That's how they play in the playoffs. That's how they won the Cup last year. And against Calgary, it's just too much. Dallas versus the Vancouver Canucks. I got a little bit, like, not an upset, but like a little bit of a twist. I got Dallas beating Vancouver, don't get me wrong, but I got 7 games. I believe in Jacob Markstrom. I believe in the story, the legacy of Jacob Markstrom this season. And Elias Pettersson has a good defensive core behind him. I think Dallas is going to be in trouble in this series, really. But I do think they escape Vancouver. Colorado versus the Nashville Predators. Oh, that's a good series. But I got Colorado in 7. Now hear me out. Nashville, they're a good team. But they're not Colorado, man. They're not Nathan McKinnon. They don't got Mikko. They don't got Mikko Rantanen on their squad. They don't have Nazem Kadri as the second-line centerman, even though he's all right, and he does get disqualified every year. Hopefully he doesn't do that for Colorado. That would be a real bummer for Colorado. But, yeah, Colorado in 7. Edmonton against Vegas. Edmonton in 6. Now, look, Vegas is a good hockey team, but Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, that's all I have to say, man. Like, the fact that Connor McDavid got nominated for the Hart and Draisaitl didn't, and McDavid was fighting for Draisaitl, I mean, those two players can go hand in hand. They should have been both nominated for the Hart this year. I mean, they were both unbelievable. It's just game over. Second round, Tampa versus Toronto. You guys are going to hate me. I got Toronto in 7. I said we couldn't beat Tampa in the round robin. Like I said, if Toronto faces any team but Philadelphia in the first round, they will lose. But if they face any of those teams in the second round, they got a chance against any of them. Look, they at least need some swagger. And winning the best of 5 series, winning the best of 7 against Philadelphia, they're going to come into that second round with a lot of swagger against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, you know, Tampa's not versing a hard team in the first round. Yeah, they're facing Florida, so they're not facing a hard defensive team. They got a lot of power coming at them with offense, and the goalie's pretty good too. So very similar to the Maple Leafs. For some reason, I just have a feeling inside that the Toronto Maple Leafs have an opportunity to take over when they play Tampa Bay. And so far in the regular season, the Leafs have a better record against the Tampa Bay Lightning, all right? That's my piece. Toronto wins 7. Washington versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think we know where we're going in this. I'm going with the Washington Capitals. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins, they beat the Boston Bruins, but I don't know. I just can't see Pittsburgh beating Washington. I think since the year of 2009 all the way to 2017, when was it 2018, when Washington won, I think that flipped, right? Pittsburgh used to beat Washington all the time and used to be a huge battle between those two, just like the Maple Leafs and the Bruins now. But I think Washington's flipped. I think Washington's the better side now. And I don't know if Pittsburgh can beat Washington. This is how I'm going to say it now. And from now on, Washington is the better team than Pittsburgh. And it's the other way around. I don't think Pittsburgh can beat Washington. That's just how I feel about it. St. Louis versus the Edmonton Oilers. And my first upset comes into play. Well, I guess Maple Leafs was an upset. But I got the Edmonton Oilers in 7 games. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Thank you very much. Colorado versus the Dallas. No, I'm kidding. Look, St. Louis, they're going to be a good team out there on the ice. I went with my gut here. I didn't want to be like everyone else. I wanted to have a hybrid type prediction. And look at this prediction. This is what you want. You want some upsets. You want some big wins from some big teams, big names. And Edmonton is one of my upsets. And everyone's just going to have to deal with that. St. Louis, look, they used to be one of my favorite teams. And then I stopped cheering for them and they won the Stanley Cup. So I don't really know what that says. Maybe I'll stop cheering for them and they win again. But Edmonton's got my pick here. I just see it. I see the light from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Dallas Stars versus the Colorado Avalanche. Colorado 6 games. Don't hate me on this. Another upset. But Dallas, you know, they're kind of the upset anyways because they're 4th in round robin. 2nd was Colorado. Nathan MacKinnon is a really good, talented player. And he's able to carry the weight just like a kind of player like Crosby was. That's why McDavid struggled for so many years, because he didn't have that leadership. He was kind of a playmaker at most and a very talented point man and a goal scorer, but he couldn't carry the weight of his falling team. Maybe that's because they didn't have defense. Maybe that's because they didn't have a good goalie, but he's finally learning. And I think Nathan MacKinnon has already learned that and is ready to win a Stanley Cup. And he's pushing for that against Dallas. In this series, I think Colorado wins in 6 games. The conference final between the Washington Capitals and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Washington in 7. Yep. Y'all thought I was going to pick Toronto to win the Stanley Cup? Hell no. Hell no. No way. No way. I love my Leafs. I love my Toronto Maple Leafs. But there is no way at the bottom of my heart I could pick the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Cup this year after that embarrassing season. That was embarrassing for us. And we didn't even finish it. We may have not even made the playoffs if the season continued. So let's just start there. But I don't know. Washington does it for me this year. Washington does it for me. I see another rebirth of the year they won. And I could just see them going past a lot of the harder teams this year. And I think they're much better. And just imagine the story of Ilya Kovalchuk leaving the Habs and going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals of the Washington Capitals. Yikes, that's a bad story for Montreal. Colorado against the Edmonton Oilers. Colorado in 5. Look, Edmonton's a good team, man, but I think they're going to get shocked by Nathan MacKinnon. I think Nathan MacKinnon's going to take out Edmonton like a light. And, yeah, that's just how I feel about it. I think Colorado is built differently than Edmonton, and what they're going to be portraying on the ice is a lot stronger than what Edmonton has to show for. I think Edmonton's a lot of offense, and you know, you're right, I could have said this earlier on, but there's an opportunity here for Edmonton to really prove themselves and prove me wrong that they are the better team. That's what I think they're going to do all the way up to the conference finals and then get shut down by a team that knows what they're doing, and that's the Colorado Avalanche. And lastly, the 2020 Stanley Cup Finals is between the Colorado Avalanche and the Washington Capitals. Who do I have? The 2 versus 2 in the round robin. Who's going to win the Stanley Cup? Nathan MacKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche. Now, some people have said Colorado will win, and I think so too. I think Colorado has a really good build. And just for some reason, every time the Leafs sell a player, they tend to go win a Stanley Cup. Tyler Bozak did it last year with the St. Louis Blues. The year before was Brendan Leipsic with the Washington Capitals. So, yeah. It just happens. And Kadri so happens to be on the Colorado Avalanche. Oh, how funny. He goes and wins the Stanley Cup without the Leafs. The first year he's ever been on another team. That would suck for me, but I see it happening. I see Nathan MacKinnon taking Colorado all the way this year. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe for more and hit that bell down below to share this to get the notifications when my next video is coming up. And please share this video with your friends and family. If you don't like hockey, if you don't like soccer, if you don't like baseball, any other sports, then share it with someone who does. Share them what I'm doing. And I'll thank you all so much for it if you do. That is all I have to say for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy, guys.